Hello, welcome to the Circular Bonus Economy Place, where we close the loop to close the pollution, helping you to live a healthier and happier life. In today's episode, episode 5, we're going to be talking about industrial ecology. Now that's a big fancy word, but it's not that fancy. What it means is basically when you take companies and put them physically next to each other, the benefits they get from that. Because like in nature, one's waste is resource for another. Industrial ecology is something that allows businesses to save money and for the surrounding communities to be stronger, healthier, and a better community. Industrial ecology, locating businesses near each other. And what we're going to do today is we're going to contrast typically what you have seen in industrial parks around your area. We're going to call those linear industrial parks, and contrast that with a circular eco-industrial park. Industrial parks, we see them all the time, and they're a very good idea. By setting aside an industrial park, you can get things like standardized zoning rules, and they're usually favorable. And the same thing with taxes. You can give them favorable taxes. At the same time, utilities can bring in services that normally wouldn't be economically feasible if there was just one or two companies. So grouping companies together or clumping them together makes a lot of business sense, a lot of community sense, a lot of ecological sense. But now I want you to consider the fact when you start thinking circular, taking a linear park and making it into a circular eco-industrial park. So I want to take you now to Mo, Norway, the Mo Industrial Park in northern Norway. This industrial park's been around for quite a long time. It's in the 1940s because in northern Norway, they have a lot of hydro. In the 1990s, they decided to go another step and turn it into an eco-industrial park. And what that looks like from things that you haven't seen before, well, one of the things they did was they made it so there are central services for heating, for electricity, for water recirculating, where the tenant would come in and plug into these. So for example, let's take a tenant that was going to be going into this Mo Industrial Park. And we're going to assume that it's a high energy, it has industrial waste sludge, and they need about 100,000 kilowatt hours a year for a 10,000 square foot lot that they're using. And they use about 100,000 gallons a year in the industrial process. When you consider all of these, one of the services that comes in real handy to save the business owners a lot of money is the sharing of waste heat. This industrial park has 110 companies, and all of them are heated by the waste from another company. And the advantage to that is these companies now don't have to go out and buy natural gas to heat their buildings. They can take it from each other, to the point where this natural gas is about 4 times more expensive than that waste heat that comes around. Another way that this industrial park is different is the idea that there is a central electrical system, and they can get hydroelectricity, as I mentioned earlier, very cheap, but they can also get it cheaper than an individual company could get it because there's over 100 of them. and that electricity is available on demand. But then it gets real interesting is when this company can also produce sludge, and normally that'd have to be carried off to a landfill. But in this industrial park, there are buyers for this. And when they're all done with making their product, their waste heat can be resold back. Running through some numbers, based on current prices, the waste heat savings from buying it normally using natural gas, in 1 year, $2.8 million. Over a 5-year period, almost $14 million. Big number. The metal slag reselling, rather than have to send it off to somebody come and get it and send it off to a landfill, they have central services now that can take this and bring it within the park to companies that can make things like cement out of it and other construction materials. They get a resource that's cheap than if they buy it outside, and this company makes some money reselling it. About $1.5 million a year. Over a 5-year period, that's $7.4 million. Another service is water recycling. Rather than using the municipal water, this industrial park has facilities where water can be cleaned and kept on premises. So a lot of the water can it doesn't have to be super clean. It can be what they call gray water for industrial purposes. And then they can send other water to be clean for human consumption. By having this differential, water recycling alone can come to about $171,000 a year, and over a 5-year period, $858,000. And the fourth category is just reselling the excess heat that comes from this little company. And that's in the vicinity around $50,000 a year. Over a 5-year period, if you added up all of these benefits, it comes to close to $22 million that this circular eco-green industrial park can save this business. But the good news gets even better, because the other benefit is to the community. Think about it. By reusing each other's waste, and especially, for instance, like the metal slag, you cut down on the mining and quarrying, which would give you ecosystem destruction, biodiversity loss, soil degradation, and they're never pretty compared to what was there before. This idea of reusing the water helps the community, because now you're taking less water out of the aquifers nearby. So the aquifers aren't under stress, and there's an opportunity cost that's avoided, and that water now can be used for other things like agriculture. The air quality in the community is better. By not burning as much fossil fuels like the natural gas and having to do the mine, the air is cleaner. Not to mention the fact that landfills aren't filling up the way they are in this country, because industrial waste is being reused, just the way nature does it. And by not having landfills growing, you're reducing the amount of leachate that can leach into the groundwater. So you're cutting back on pollution. At the same time, we're cutting back on the amount of CO2 emissions. If you took all of these benefits and you priced them out, it would come to be, over a 5-year period, 44 million euros. So the business saves a lot of money, but the society around saves double the money. This is an opportunity for this community to bring in more companies into this industrial park. Close the loop, close the pollution. It's good for business and it's good for you, your community. If you want to join me on this journey, continue to learn about the tremendous benefits that the circular economy has, the opportunity for your community. If you want to live a healthy and happy life and stop pushing yourself from the pollution that comes from a linear economy, subscribe to that button down below. Meanwhile, I'd love to learn what surprises you about the industrial ecology. Or maybe you work in an industrial park now. Love to hear about how you're doing things that are good for business and good for the environment. I'm Ed Tivnan, and I'll see you next week.